President of the Philippines and the Prime Minister of Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Today, we gather to witness the signing of the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro between the government of the Philippines and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. To formally welcome everyone today, we have the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process, the Honorable Teresita Quintos Deles.
His Excellency, our President, Benigno Simeon Aquino III. To our esteemed guests, His Excellency, Prime Minister Dato Sri Mohammed Najib bin Tun Abdul Razak of Malaysia, Chairman Al-Haj Murad Ibrahim, Chair of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, the chairs and members of the peace negotiating panels of the Government of the Philippines and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, the Honorable Tengku Datu Agafar Tengku Mohammed, our Malaysian facilitator in the GPH-MILF peace negotiations, members of the Diplomatic Corps, fellow members of the Cabinet, Senate President Drilon and Speaker Belmonte, and members of Congress, our partners and friends in peacemaking and peace building, from civil society organizations, the private sector and local government units, our grassroots communities, the international community. Good afternoon. Magandang hapon po. Assalamualaikum. We have more than 1,000 guests here today, and I am sure that more than 1,000 selfies and groupies have been taken by your smartphones, all to be posted, if not already posted, on the web. And as we share with one and all the feelings, smiles, and tears of this gathering, we will surely have 1 million likes on Facebook before the sun rises tomorrow. A day of joy and gladness to you all. Today we embrace peace with the crushing might of a people and banish war with the great power of a nation united. Today we embrace peace with the courage of equals rather than the cowardice of bigots, deceivers, and exploiters. Today we embrace peace with deep gratitude and thanksgiving for the gift, the blessing of peace that only Providence can truly bestow upon humanity. And speaking of blessings, I also remember the gift bestowed upon us in the person of Ibrahim Rahman, a village leader of Kalayaan, North Cotabato in Mindanao. One night in August of 2008, amidst the distant clap of cannons and gunfire, Ibrahim woke up to the sight of hundreds of children of all shapes and sizes in front of his house. The children were apparently told by their parents to flee their homes for safety, by themselves, without food, with only the clothes they wore on their frail bodies. In ragtag fashion, and with the bravado of hardy sons and daughters of war, they crossed the Libungan River in Bangkas to safer sanctuary and landed, luckily, in Ibrahim's front door. Ibrahim called out to others in the community. They took the young ones in different homes, fed them, and sheltered them in the madrasa. In a state of confusion, the child refugees or bakwits would cry themselves to sleep and wake up not knowing where their parents were. It was weeks later that their parents came for them and brought them back home when the guns were silent for a while. Ibrahim would later lend his 10-hectare ancestral land to these children's families, whose areas of residence kept changing, depending on when and when it was safe, depending on when and where the bombs fell or the guns roared. Today, those families are sheltered in Ibrahim's ancestral land and are being served by the government's Shelter Assistance Program. And on this day itself, as they hear the words said in this historic ceremony, they are finally invested with hope in a permanent peace, the hope that their children will finally have the chance not only to survive, but to live and to thrive in an enduring community. We stand here today to declare that henceforth, no family shall be forced to drive their children away for fear of their being maimed or wounded by conflict, and that no child ever again has to cross a raging river and knock on a stranger's door to beg for protection. Outside these gates, parents, students, and children are in Luneta, flying kites for peace, while our allies from many noble persuasions are in Mendiola and Quiapo, in solidarity with us. In various areas in Mindanao, people have turned major roads green with waving peace flags and will be holding pistahan events to celebrate today's momentous occasion. The signal and prayer are so strong and unrelenting. No more war, no more children scampering for safety, no more evacuees, no more lost school days or school months, no more injustice, no more misgovernance, no more poverty, no more fear, and no more want. Tama na. We are all tired of it. A new dawn has come. A new dawn has come. The dawn for books, not bullets. For paintbrushes, not knives, for whole communities, not evacuation centers, and for rewarding toil, not endless strife. The work is far from over, even as the pledges are sealed, but I bear faith that our common intentions will drive us forward, and that noble leaders will clasp hands and pull our future together. Most of all, I bear the deepest faith that the Almighty will hold us all in the palm of His hand, constantly delivering us from the instincts of war and keeping us within the fold of peace each waking day. Today, the Bangsamoro rises with Mindanao, the nation, the region, and the world, part of our great heritage and has identity as a nation, a political and economic force for all generations. Mr. President, thank you for leading us forward with a clear vision and indomitable steadfastness. Now I know that tuwid na daan also means peace for all. We could not have made it without you, Mr. President. Everybody knows that. Mr. Prime Minister, allow me to express our gratitude to Malaysia for being a faithful and patient partner of the peace process. We can ask nothing more of a good and trusted neighbor. Chairman Murad, you are truly a warrior for all seasons. We salute your fortitude and tenacity in leading the MILF in war and now in peace. To all who have been our partners in the journey, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. I am humbled by your own love for peace and your willingness to live and fight for the dream. And to you all who have toiled by my side and chose to walk these difficult paths and navigated the complicated currents of peacemaking as we know it now, you know who you all are, the men and women of OPAP with our families. I can only say thank you. Though sometimes we are battered and bruised in body and spirit, we will rise and rise again like a phoenix to continue our work and to achieve more triumphs for peace for our people and our country. With that, I say welcome to the historic signing of the Comprehensive Agreement on the Bangsamoro. Isang mapayapa at makasaysayang hapon po. Shukran.
Thank you, Secretary Deles. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, let us also welcome the chairperson of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, Chairman Al-Haj Murad Ibrahim.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. His Excellency President Benigno Simeon Aquino III, His Excellency Prime Minister Muhammad Najib bin Tun Abdul Razak, Her Excellency Datin Sri Rosma Mansour, Honorable Senate President Franklin Rilon and members of the Senate, Honorable Feliciano Belmonte Jr. and members of the House, His Excellency Helen Clark, UN Assistant Secretary and UNDP Administrator, His Eminence Cardinal Orlando Quevedo, His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Abdullah, Deputy Foreign Ministers of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Honorable Akihito Tanaka, President of JICA, Excellencies of the Foreign Diplomatic Corps, esteemed members of the President's Cabinet, honorable members of the Prime Minister's Cabinet, distinguished members of the GPH Peace Panel, my brothers from the MILF Central Committee, members of the MILF Peace Panel, and commanders of the Bangsamoro Islamic Armed Forces, heads and representatives of different NGOs, and partner donor organizations, local government officials, honored guests, friends, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Today, we celebrate the shared victory of the Bangsamoro and the Filipino people. The comprehensive agreement of the Bangsamoro finally brings with it the restoration of the identity, powers, and resources of the Bangsamoro. These three things, which have been ours since time immemorial and justly taken through colonization and occupation, are now returned to us. From the distant past to the present, the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro is the crowning glory of our struggle. The 17 long and oftentimes lonely years of negotiations are witnesses to the sincerity and sacrifices of our people to find the final answer to the Bangsamoro question. Inshallah and Alhamdulillah, the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro is the most fitting solution to the undying aspiration of the Bangsamoro to have their rightful decent and honorable standing as enjoyed by our forebears in bygone eras, and to live the present in an age of lasting peace, justice, and prosperity. "17 months ago, we were also assembled in this revered hall of Malacanang Palace to witness the signing of the framework agreement on the Bangsamoro. In the midst of natural disasters and political turmoil, we have risen above the challenges and braved the elements of adversity as we completed the 4 indispensable annexes and the addendum to the framework agreement on the Bangsamoro. Now we have come full circle as we are again gathered here today to witness the signing of the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro. We in the MILF and our counterparts in the JPH have pushed the ends of reason in coming to this point of forging a negotiated political agreement that not only promises but guarantees mutual recognition, respect, and restoration of the legitimate rights of the people in the Bangsamoro. With the signing of the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro, the legitimate aspiration of the Bangsamoro and the commitment of the government of the Philippines to recognize and address those aspirations are now sealed and witnessed by all peace-loving peoples of this nation and the whole world. Even if we are momentarily overwhelmed by profound happiness, we keep our awareness that the negotiated political settlement, such as the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro, never by themselves implement automatically. It requires the actions of both parties to give concrete forms to the intents and contents of the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro. Only then would the agreement become credible and acceptable to all. But we have not come this far only to dampen by doubts and worries. In our midst is the confluence of favorable situations, of abundant goodwill and tangible supports that put to rest all uncertainties, misgivings, and even fears of what the future has in store for us. We believe we have reached the highest respect for each other's beliefs, principles, and ideologies. With sincerity in our heart, we offer the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro to the Filipino people as the grandest articulation of our aspirations, and by it our unyielding belief that the more cause worth pursuing, there will be no more cause worth pursuing by force is left for others to take. The comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro is built in the gains of previous agreement, entered into by Moro liberation movements in the past. The MILF recognizes as a milestone the 1996 GRP-MNLF Final Peace Agreement, but its inherent flaws, weaknesses, and faith for the last 18 years must not hinder the MILF from securing for the Bangsamoro a far better negotiated political settlement of the Bangsamoro question. After all, the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro is not only for the MILF, it is for the MNLF as well. As much as it is for all the Muslim ethnic tribes, the Christian settlers, and the indigenous peoples in the prospective Bangsamoro government territory. Thank you to the numerous declarations and commitment of support to the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro from a greater number of MNLF brothers and sisters and various sectors of the Bangsamoro, including settlers and indigenous people. I would like to impress upon all of you that the MILF does not and will never claim sole ownership of the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro. The MILF recognizes the unalterable reality that the valiant efforts and sacrifices of countless people for freedom and self-determination of the entire Bangsamoro contributed in no small way towards the achievement of this agreement. The only interest of the MILF is the emplacement of the system as agreed upon by the parties. Upon the establishment of the new Bangsamoro political entity, the role of the MILF may be likened to a gatekeeper for the duration of the transition period, where after such period, the keys to the gate will be willingly handed over to the democratic will of the Bangsamoro. To be overly emphatic, it will not be a government of the MILF, but a government of the Bangsamoro. I am foremost in the belief that the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro does not stand to benefit the Bangsamoro alone. Rather, its successes will inevitably reverberate beyond the borders of the Bangsamoro homeland. With it, we aim to eradicate social isolation by advancing sustainable peace, security, and stability, not only in Mindanao, but also in the entire country. We aim to provide mechanisms and activities that would reinforce capacities of people of this nation to work together. We aim to build relationships that would simultaneously create economic opportunities and promote reconciliation and peace through pursuit of mutual interest across the country. Even as today's historic occasions make us happy and triumphant, we cannot but honor and dedicate the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro to our valiant leaders, brothers and sisters, who by Allah's will and mercy could no longer see the dawning of this new era for the very people they have sacrificed their time, wealth, and lives for. Please allow me to pay tribute to the departed leaders of the MILF, whose teachings and valor shall live within our hearts, namely the late MILF Chairman Salamat Hasim, the late MILF Vice Chairman Abdulaziz Mimbantas, Ustaz Abu Khalil Yahya, Ustaz Ali Abdulaziz, Ustaz Ismail Jamil, Alim Ansari Mutia, the so-called Big Five, Commanders Taps Julhani, Said Putaw, Diego Silang, Adan Abdullah, Tony Falcon, Muhammad James Van, Yahya Loksadatu, and many others. And to all our Mujahideen martyrs, whether MILF or MNLF. The determination and resolve of these great leaders have catapulted us to where we are today. To my fellow Mujahideen and the Bangsamoro people, our journey towards peace has borne us this agreement. We accept the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro with gratitude and enthusiasm. The signing of the CAB marks the starting point of another level of struggle to ensure that the terms of the agreement will be faithfully implemented and will ultimately be instrumental in realizing the aspiration of the Bangsamoro people for lasting peace, justice, and prosperity. We strongly pray for an accepting and not merely tolerant public that will massively support and give a chance to this monumental agreement to succeed and serve its purpose of restoring our people their Bangsamoro identity and bequeathing to them their rights to self-determination. Our ardent call for support include our brothers and sisters, Mujahideen and revolutionaries in the other liberation organizations. The support we ask of you is not merely in keeping your optimism in the whole process, but more significantly in lending your hands and participation in the realization of the objective of the process. Let us all stand as willing witnesses to the end of atrocities and uprisings in the Bangsamoro homeland and see to it that it remains that way. In parting, I commend the tireless, consistent, and undaunted efforts of all those instrumental in forging this agreement, particularly His Excellency President Benigno Simon Aquino, His Excellency Prime Minister Dato Sri Naguib bin Tun Haji Abdul Razak, His Excellency Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, under whose terms of office as Prime Minister the peace negotiations were started and done in Malaysia, the Malaysian facilitator, Dato Abdul Ghaffar Tengku Muhammad, and the able Secretariat. The MILF extends its heartfelt thanks also to all the state and non-state actors that comprise the International Contact Group, ICG, namely the government of the United Kingdom, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Japan, and its international NGO components, Constellation Resources, Muhammadiyah Center for Humanitarian Dialogue, and Community of St. Egidio, as well as former member, the Asia Foundation. The international monitoring team, continuously led by Malaysia since 2001, and joined by Brunei, Libya, Japan, Norway, Indonesia, and the European Union, and its civilian protection components. the Nonviolent Peace Force, Mindanao People's Caucus, Mindanao Human Rights Action Center, and the Muslim Organization of Government Officials and Professionals, and to the numerous world organizations and countries that have signified a strong support to the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro, such as the United Nations, the European Union, United States of America, United Kingdom, Switzerland, Australia, Indonesia, Japan, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Finally, to the GPS MILF Peace Panels, GPS Panel Chair, Professor Miriam Ferrer, previous Chairperson, Secretary Jesus Zoreta, Secretary Silvestria Fabli, Secretary Rodolfo Garcia, Ambassador Rafael Sigis, Associate Justice Marivic Leonen, and others. Brother Ghazali Jafar, the late Alim Abdulaziz Mimbantas, who both serve as chairman of the MILF Peace Panel. And Brother Muhajir Iqbal, whose stint as chair of the MILF Peace Panel, this comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro has been signed. I also pay tribute to the invaluable contribution of Lanang Ali, Datu Michael Mastura, the late Musib Wad, Robert Maulana, Alonto, Abud Said Linga, Abdullah Kamlian, Datu Keynote, and all those who serve in the MILF Peace Panel and its various structures, both currently and those who served earlier. Above all, thank you to the guidance of those people who stood and continuously stand by in our journey towards just and lasting peace. Before I end this message, allow me to extend my heartfelt and profound expression of sorrow and condolence to the families of the victims of the missing Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 bound for Beijing from the Malaysian capital of Kuala Lumpur last March 8. It was already officially reported that the ill-fated plane had crashed into the remote part of the Indian Ocean. I salute the Malaysian government, headed by His Excellency Prime Minister Dato Sri Muhammad Najib bin Tun Haji Razak, for the superb handling of the tragic incident which claimed the lives of 239 passengers and crew. Thank you very much. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always bless us all. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For more than a decade, Malaysia has served as both facilitator and witness to our peace process. Today, we are honored with the presence of His Excellency Najib Razak, the Prime Minister of Malaysia. And so, ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency, the Prime Minister of Malaysia.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And mangandang hapon po. His Excellency Benigno S. Aquino III, President of the Philippines, His Excellency Al-Hajj Murad Ibrahim, Chairman of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, Her Excellency Teresita Quintos Deles, Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process, honorable ministers, excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today we witness the signing of the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro. It is a peace deal decades in the making. In signing this agreement, the two sides have looked not to the problems of the past, but to the promise of the future. After so many years of conflict and so many lives lost, it is a momentous act of courage, and it will change their nation's history forever. By engaging in a peace process, the Moro Islamic Liberation Front have repaid the trust placed in them by the people. By negotiating in good faith, the government of the Philippines has affirmed the rights of the Bangsamoro to determine their own destiny. Both sides have sacrificed so that the people of the southern Philippines may live free, free from the violence which tore so many families apart, free from the suffering caused by decades of conflict, free from fear. In the pages of this agreement, we see the promise of a better future. A future where classrooms ring with laughter, not gunshots. Where young men fight poverty, not each other. Where people work hand in hand to build a new consensus and a new identity, the Bangsamoro. Unity cannot be decreed overnight. After so many years, there are no easy shortcuts. Much work remains, and there will be setbacks along the way. But the commitment to peace, the commitment I see in this surrounding today, must not waver. We must be steadfast, and we must be resolute. Ladies and gentlemen, both sides are leaving conflict behind, but we must steel ourselves for a new challenge. After the conflict, the difficult work of development begins. We must give new meaning to lives struck by violence. Decades of fighting have robbed a generation of health care, of education, of income. With peace must come not just prosperity, but opportunity. Only then will Bangsamoro's future be assured. 2 years ago, I promised President Aquino that Malaysia would continue to assist with development. We are willing to help build institutions, strengthen education, improve agriculture. This promise stands for as long as it is needed. Malaysia remains a partner for peace and for development. Our belief in cooperation across borders has been strengthened by tragedy. The loss of 239 people on board flight MH370 has been devastating. Malaysia are grateful for the support of our friends and neighbors, including the Philippines, in the continuing search effort. At this difficult time, we draw strength from the compassionate response of our fellow nations. Ladies and gentlemen, this agreement secures the rights of the Bangsamoro people and the sovereignty of the Philippines. It is our hope that the people of the Bangsamoro will work alongside the government of the Philippines and the MILF to ensure its success. This commitment to peace is binding. It must be honored and protected. All parties must stand by the spirit and letter of the agreement. We should work to ensure respect for religion and live by the principle of nonviolence. We should protect human rights, embrace the rule of law, and practice moderation. Only through a negotiated settlement can lasting peace be achieved, and only good governance can secure the ambition we all share, a strong and prosperous Bangsamoro. I am confident that the government of the Philippines will continue to work with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front in drafting the Bangsamoro Basic Law. The support of all parties will be crucial if the law is to be passed by the Philippines Congress and a plebiscite in Bangsamoro. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to pay a special tribute to President Aquino for his unwavering commitment to peace in the southern Philippines. I would like to congratulate His Excellency Al-Hajj Murad Ibrahim, Chairman of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, for his strong leadership in a peace process. Our deepest appreciation goes to the lead negotiators and their negotiating teams, especially Professor Miriam Coronel Farah and Mr. Mohagir Iqbal, as well as the pivotal contribution of Tengku Dato Abdul Ghaffar Tengku Muhammad, the Malaysian facilitator. I would also like to commend all parties in the International Contact Group, representatives from Japan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and the United Kingdom, and international non-governmental organizations, representatives from Center of Humanitarian Dialogue, Conciliation Resources, Muhammadiyah, and the Asia Foundation, as well as an observer from the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. I also wish to thank the Malaysian contingent of the International Monitoring Team, which has contributed to lasting peace in the southern Philippines. Malaysia is honored to have played its part in this process. We wish for nothing more than peace and prosperity for our brothers and sisters in Bangsamoro and in the Philippines. This peace process has strengthened the bond of trust between our countries. As we look ahead to a brighter future for Bangsamoro, I pledge Malaysia's continued support. We will remain in our role as a third-party facilitator, and we will continue working through the International Monitoring Team in Mindanao. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to conclude by paying tribute to the extraordinary efforts which have made this agreement possible. Throughout the peace process, both sides gave their all so that the people of Bangsamoro may enjoy the boundless dividend of peace, that they may work and learn and live again. 40 years ago, darkness came to Mindanao. In a struggle that bridged a generation, 150,000 lives were lost. Today, we turn to face the light. Today belongs to the Philippines and to the people of the Bangsamoro. Thank you. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process will now introduce the President.
It is my distinct honor to introduce the one who leads us on the straight path, tuwid na daan, al-musrat al-mustaqim, to achieve our dream of just and lasting peace for our people. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Benigno Simeon Aquino III.
Now, please sit down. His Excellency, the Prime Minister, Dato Sri Mohammed Najib Tun Abdul Razak, and Datin Sri Mansur. Senate President Franklin Drilon, members of the Senate present, Speaker Feliciano Belmonte Jr., and members of the House of Representatives. The Malaysian Minister for Foreign Affairs, Dato Sri Hanifa Haji Aman, and distinguished members of the Malaysian delegation. Foreign dignitaries present, Honorable Ms. Helen Clark of the UNDP, His Royal Highness Prince Abdul Aziz bin Abdullah bin Abdul Aziz, the Deputy Foreign Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Excellency Ali Naji Koru, Vice Foreign Minister of the Republic of Turkey, the Honorable Maria Beamer, Minister of State, Federal Republic of Germany, Secretary Albert Del Rosario, Executive Secretary Paquito Ochoa Jr., Secretary Teresita Quitos Deles, and members of the Cabinet present, His Excellency Giuseppe Pinto, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, and representatives of international organizations, Chairman Al-Haj Murad Ibrahim, Tengku Datu Abdul Ghaffar Tengku Mohammed, Mr. Moger Iqbal, members of the MILF Peace Negotiating Panel, Professor Miriam Cornel Ferrer, and members of the GPH Negotiating Panel, members of the MILF Central Committee, General Emmanuel Bautista and other major service commanders of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Police Director General Alan Purisima, His Eminence Orlando Cardinal Quevedo, religious leaders and civil society members, MNLF leaders, other government officials present, the leaders of the royal houses, fellow workers in government, honored guests, mga minamahal ko pong kababayan, magandang hapon po sa inyo lang. In August of 2011, I flew to Japan along with 6 members of my cabinet and Marvick Lonen, who was then chair of the government peace panel, to meet with our brothers, Al-Haj Murad Ibrahim and Mohager Iqbal and their companions from the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. This move took many by surprise. There were those who reacted with intense skepticism, followed with criticism. The MILF, after all, was a group that had been long locked in combat with our troops. The most vocal of these naysayers expressed tremendous criticism, assailing my integrity, alleging that I had ulterior motives, and casting doubt on my administration's commitment to transparency. Some asked, were we not granting the MILF undue leverage in the negotiations? Of what significance was a face-to-face meeting in ending an insurgency that had raged and festered for 2 generations? Even as a congressman, I had often wondered how 2 panels representing intense antagonists in a decades-long conflict could be expected to possess the modicum of trust needed to advance the peace process. As a member of the opposition, little did I know that only a few years later, I would be elected president and I would be the one directly tasked to solve the dilemma. When the negotiations with the MILF had reached a very serious deadlock, I decided that the time had come to personally reach out and try to achieve that modicum of trust that could advance the peace process. I asked to meet Chairman Murad so that we could talk in an earnest manner, and our longtime ally, Japan, graciously and instantly agreed to host our meeting. Talking personally with Chairman Murad, I felt that he, like me, was prepared to come to the table not as an adversary, but as a friend who shared a singular aspiration for peace. After all, if both parties approach the table asking only how to win or how to give up the least, then there could never be a meeting of the minds. His points made it apparent that neither he nor any of his companions were out to consolidate power or to perpetuate a feudal and oppressive system. They were seeking fair and equal representation in institutions. And most of all, they wanted peace. Their proposals marked a real difference from the failed experiment that was armed, and gave one reason to hope that the talks will progress and that lasting peace will finally be attained. And so, the seeds of trust were planted, and consequently, nourished by the hard work of all stakeholders. In October of 2012, a framework agreement on the Bangsamoro was signed, providing a roadmap and solidifying the trust that the panels had for each other. Communities on the ground, whether Muslim, Christian, or Lumad, likewise bought into the dream of consequent development for the region. At the forefront were the panels and their mediator, who hammered out annex after annex, aware that transforming our ideals into tangible realities required consummate attention to the details. And just as this chapter of positive engagement with the MILF began in a foreign land, in a country that shares with the Filipino people the aspiration of regional peace, stability, and harmony, so too did this current chapter in our saga unfold on the 25th of January in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The final annex on normalization was jointly signed by the government of the Philippines and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. Today, we will witness the signing of the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro. We thank the members of both panels, the sincerity of Professor Miriam Coronel Ferrer and her predecessor, Supreme Court Associate Justice Marvic Leonen, permeated through the peace process. MILF Chief Negotiator Mohagar Iqbal likewise set the stage for fair and sincere negotiations. The new facilitator in the person of the Honorable Tengku Gafar, your fair and steady hand was a key factor in the success of this process. Our country thanks you. I also reiterate my thanks to Chairman Alhaj Murad Ibrahim, who exhibited genuine leadership for his people, and Secretary Ging Deles, who I presume will allow herself some well-deserved rest before she braces herself for the next challenge. You can have tomorrow off. Ging, in all seriousness, your decades of work as a peace advocate have now borne their sweetest fruit. I assure you, now that this comprehensive agreement will be signed, there will be less stress between us. Let me also thank Governor Mujib Ataman of the ARMM, who has demonstrated what can be done through good leadership. From the outset, we share the view that the system as presently crafted is susceptible to abuse by the wrong leaders. He has worked for true transformation that lends itself to permanence. And now, after all his achievements, he willingly steps aside. That is the sort of leader we need, focused on the other and not on himself. We thank everyone whose faith never faltered in this journey. To the people of Indonesia and President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, we truly appreciate your solidarity. As a member of the International Monitoring Team, Indonesia, along with Brunei, Japan, Malaysia, Norway, and previously the European Union and Libya, were integral in creating the peaceful environment that proved conducive to the negotiations. Our people extend their gratitude to the members of the IMT. We also thank the International Contact Group. We reiterate our gratitude to Japan, whose graciousness proved crucial in winning a once elusive trust between the Philippine government and the MILF. The United Kingdom, whose experience in resolving conflict provided a shining example as we embarked on our own journey. Other member countries such as Saudi Arabia and Turkey, and the NGO members of the ICG, thank you for supporting peace in the Philippines. To the members of the Independent Commission on Policing, Canada, Australia, and again Japan, thank you for your help. We thank the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which served as observer to these talks. We likewise thank all our partners who have aided us throughout this process. The United States through USAID, Japan through the Japan Bangsamoro Initiatives for Reconstruction and Development, or JBIRD, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Sweden, the United States once more, and the European Union through their contributions to the Mindanao Trust Fund. Australia and New Zealand for the facility for advisory support for transition capacities, and Australia once more for the OPAP DFA Technical Assistance Facility and the Basic Education Assistance for Mindanao. We also thank the World Bank, the United Nations Development Program, the Japan International Cooperation Agency, and again, the European Union for the assistance that you have extended to us. You all have the enduring gratitude of the Filipino people. We will never forget the support you have given and continue to give us. And of course, the Filipino people will forever be indebted to Malaysia. Whose presence illuminated every step of the peace process. We have the leadership of His Excellency, the Prime Minister Najib Razak, to thank for this. The role that Malaysia played in forging this agreement is especially significant, given that the Bangsamoro forms the nexus of bloodlines that links Malaysia and the Philippines. And as we look to the shared history of the Malay people for kinship and inspiration, so too will we forge a future of shared stability, prosperity, and inclusiveness through our bonds of shared success. Together, we have set an example for the entire world. This agreement stands as a testament to how far trust and earnestness can move humanity forward. It shows how righteousness, reason, and goodwill are the mightiest of instruments in ending conflict. It proves that the search for common ground is infinitely more productive than hegemonic ambition. If we sustain the momentum for peace, by 2016, the MILF will have shed its identity as a military force and transformed itself into a political entity, casting its stake in democracy by vying for seats in the Bangsamoro elections. The Bangsamoro shall form a perimeter of vigilance against the spread of extremism. It shall act as a bridge of moderation among the great faiths of the various constituencies in ASEAN. From this shared security, we shall enhance the era of prosperity that is dawning upon our region and harness its energies towards creating a regime of opportunity and inclusivity where no one is left behind. As the Bangsamoro matures, it shall serve as the gateway to trade, investment, and cultural exchanges within the Brunei, Darussalam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, East ASEAN growth area and its environs, igniting a virtuous cycle of security, development, and equitable progress for the peoples of the entire region. This is our vision for the Bangsamoro. And just as the agreement we are signing today did not appear magically out of thin air, so too will our next steps have to involve the same trust and long-term thinking that brought us to this shared triumph. At this point, the Bangsamoro Transition Commission is hard at work in drafting a Bangsamoro basic law that is equitable, practical, and empowering, and which serves the interests of the entire nation. It is a law that will have to pass my personal muster as a president, pledged to do justice to all before it is submitted to Congress. My administration will go all out to forge a principled consensus for enduring security and prosperity. I expect the deliberations in Congress to be characterized by a sincere desire to improve on the Bangsamoro Basic Law and not by self-interest that only aims to perpetuate an untenable status quo. Our mission now is to draft and pass this law so that it will be presented to the people for ratification in a plebiscite. Our goal, to have the Bangsamoro Transition Authority in place by 2015, when it will serve as the interim Bangsamoro government until the elections in 2016. In this manner, The people themselves will turn the tide of strife into an era of peace and equitable progress. They themselves will prove that the democratic space is vast enough to address every Filipino's grievances and concerns. We thus call on everyone to widen the avenues for trust and positive engagement. Let us cast aside past prejudices and contribute to the atmosphere of optimism that has, for the first time in a long while, become prevalent in Muslim Mindanao. It should be the paramount concern of all people of goodwill to do their part. Let us exchange our bullets for ripening fruit, our cynicism for hope, our histories of sorrow for a future of harmony, peace, and prosperity. We must remember that for so long, Muslim Mindanao has been left in the margins. The amount of attention that the national government granted it ebbed with the electoral cycle, and this broken system was exploited by the powerful few who lorded it over everyone else. For generations, fellow Filipinos in the region were embroiled in a cycle of poverty, injustice, and violence. The huge imbalance between Muslim Mindanao and the rest of the country served to breed resentment and consequently insurgency. When the Bangsamoro people felt that they had no redress within the system, they then tried to address their grievances from outside of the system. We must therefore give them a significant boost up so that they can catch up. If we are to truly address the root causes of conflict, we must close the gap between the region and the rest of Filipino society. I have to state that I fully empathize with our Muslim countrymen. Like them, my family experienced how impossible it was to achieve redress of legitimate grievances as we were oppressed by a dictatorial government. What is being presented before us now is a path that can lead to a permanent change in the status quo in Muslim Mindanao. But as with all change, its success depends on our continuous vigilance. We must admit that there are those who will champion the status quo to preserve themselves in positions of power and wealth. Maintaining this requires holding back the majority, for any sign of individual or collective advancement is a threat. Maintaining fear and insecurity allows them to prey on the entrepreneur whose success is rewarded by kidnapping, the farmer who improved the rough land only to have it grabbed, the student whose very promising future is cut short by a bomb, the pensioner who, seeking security, falls prey to the unscrupulous pyramid scammer, or those mired in desperate times and desperate situations who fall victim to false prophets from either side. These people ask and have been asking a legitimate question: what did we do to deserve this? The simple answer is, you don't. No one does. My father taught me, if you tolerate the abuse of the rights of one, it sets the stage for the abuse of your own rights. The only correct action then is to stand up for your brother whose rights have been abused. Otherwise, we will only be condemning ourselves to suffer the same fate. The majority who deserve an opportunity to improve their lot in life, who stand to benefit from the onset of peace, stand at the crossroads with us. On one hand, will we be held back by an untenable status quo? Or together, will we as an entire nation rise and prosper? To those who will not join us, I ask, are you really that confident that we will have another singular opportunity like the one we have today? Do you really think that the confluence of factors such that exists today will happen again, when the Filipino people and their government are committed to redressing a historic injustice, where the international community has thrown its full support behind the achievement of peace, and when we have already fixed an electoral system that was designed to subvert the sovereign will of the people? May this also stand as a warning to those who wish to derail our path to a final lasting peace, those who wish to sow divisiveness for self-interest, and those who continue to wield arms to pursue their own agendas. So many people have suffered for so long. So many of our stakeholders have worked so hard to arrive at this point. I will not let peace be snatched from my people again. Not now. Not now, when we have already undertaken the most difficult and most significant steps to achieve it. Those who want to test the resolve of the state will be met with a firm response based on righteousness and justice, as we demonstrated in Zamboanga City. I've always said that being president is not the easiest of jobs. The fight to change the status quo is even more daunting. I do not want to just take my turn on a merry-go-round that goes nowhere but round and round, to perpetuate or even exacerbate existing problems. I would rather ride the horse that actually leads to a definite destination. And in this journey, there will always be obstacles to national transformation, just as there will always be those who seek to disrupt any sort of momentum that we have gained. At times, it seems as if the selfish few can fatally hamper the future of so many. There are, however, days like this, days when our collective philosophy of sincere consensus building yields the most enduring of results. Days when we can stand witness to the hard work of our people. Days when we can be filled with hope despite all the challenges that remain. There are days when we can find time to reflect on what we have achieved in less than 4 years. In this case, the end to decades of conflict and the beginning of development and prosperity for the Bangsamoro. Today, we have proven that not only can our people dream again, but in fact, we are now beginning to achieve our dreams. We have exhibited tremendous trust and commitment, which has gotten us this far. Today, let us commit to being more energetic advocates of this rightful path. In the coming months and years, let us exert even greater effort into making the path of peace more inclusive, inviting more to join this advocacy and to contribute to the peaceful and progressive future that we are envisioning. If our goals as a nation are fulfilled, my brothers Al-Hajj Murad, Mohager Iqbal, and myself can all look forward to that one day in the not-so-distant future when we will sit back and enjoy a quiet sunset in Mindanao, perhaps with the company of friends, such as Prime Minister Najib Razak. That day, we will look back to the 27th of March 2014 and allow ourselves a little pride. For now, more work needs to be done, and I look forward to building a peaceful, prosperous, and inclusive Bangsamoro with all of you. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we shall now undertake the signing of the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro. Please be seated. We invite on stage the chairs of the respective peace panels. Joining them is the Malaysian facilitator, the Honorable Tengku Gafar, who will officially sign as a witness to the agreement. Also serving as witnesses are members of the Government Peace Panel. Former Agriculture Secretary Senen Bakani. Undersecretary for Muslim Concerns Yasmin Busran Lau. And with them, our Human Rights Victims Claim Board member, Jose Luis Martin Gascon, and National Security Council Deputy Director General, Zenonida Brosas. Standing as witnesses for the MILF are Mr. Maulana Alonto, Mr. Abdullah Kamlian, Professor Abud Sayed Linga, Datu Antonio Kinok, and Datu Michael Mastura. Ladies and gentlemen, may we also invite the President of the Philippines and the Prime Minister of Malaysia to witness the signing. And now, ladies and gentlemen, upon the presentation of the copies, we shall now proceed with the signing of the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro. At this moment, may we ask the Honorable Tengku Gafar and the Peace Panel chairs to rise. Professor Miriam Coronel Ferrer and Mr. Mohagher Iqbal, the peace panel chairs, the peace panel chairs will now present the signed comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro to His Excellency President Benigno S. Aquino III and to Chairman Alhaj Murad Ibrahim. Witnessing the presentation are His Excellency Prime Minister Najib Razak and Secretary Teresita Quintos Deles. As we conclude our event today, we request Their Excellencies, the President and the Prime Minister, to allow the members of the Joint Philippine Government and MILF peace negotiating panels to have a photo with them. May we therefore ask the members of the two panel to join the President and the Prime Minister. Thank you to the members of the MILF Technical Working Group. May we now ask the members of the MILF panel to remain. And may we also invite the members of the MILF Central Committee to join the President, the Prime Minister, and the MILF panel. Thank you to the members of the MILF Central Committee and panel. May we now ask the members of the Philippine Government Panel and Technical Working Group to join the President and the Prime Minister. Thank you to the members of the Government Peace Panel and Technical Working Group, where we now invite the governors and congressmen of the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao for a photo with the President and the Prime Minister. Thank you to the honorable officials of the ARMM. Lastly, may we ask the representatives of the International Contact Group to join the President and the Prime Minister. Thank you to the representatives of the International Contact Group. And at this point, we would like to thank Your Excellencies and thank everyone for witnessing this historic event. To cap it all off, may we invite the Honorable Senate President and the Honorable Speaker of the House to join the President and the Prime Minister. And may we also ask His Eminence Cardinal Quevedo to join them on the stage. Thank you, Your Excellencies and Your Eminence. And once again, thank you to everyone for witnessing this truly historic event. We wish everyone a good afternoon and remind our distinguished guests and visitors that at the conclusion of the ceremony, there will be modest refreshments that we invite you to partake of at the rear of this hall. Ladies and gentlemen, may we ask you to rise as Their Excellencies, the President of the Philippines and the Prime Minister of Malaysia proceed to Malacanang Palace.